What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media tonight. My name is Ryan Linkletter. I'm here with Danny Carpenter, the fantasy football guru. The playoffs are here, Danny. It's the best time of the year. We're working towards those championships. How you doing tonight? Oh, I can't hear you, Danny. I can't hear you. Danny, Danny. Can't hear you. I can't hear you right now. The mic's not working.
There we go. Now can you hear
Oh,
me?
all right, we're
All
good. We're
right,
good.
there we
Technical
go.
difficulties are good now.
My bad. Yeah, it's staying warm here. We got a winter storm warning, so we got about 4 inches already outside. So watch a little bit of Christmas movies before the games tomorrow to break down the slate for you guys tonight. Let's go.
100%. It's going to be a jam-packed week 15. I mean, I'm looking at that Buffalo Bills New England Patriots game for sure. That one's going to be a thriller and ultimately decide, I think, who might come out of the AFC depending on how both of those teams look. So let's get right into these questions here. Weekly, right here, we got rank these quarterbacks: Stafford, May, Burrow, and Dart. Danny, I'll start with you. What are you looking like out of this grouping?
Uh, For this week, Dart's probably my number one guy. Then probably be Stafford, Burrow, and May. Actually, it's probably the last of the four right there. But all four of those guys are good starts this week. I mean, you can't look past them. Dart may have the most upside just because of playing against the Washington defense. Stafford, that game may be a shootout. I think it's actually what I think it is the highest total of the season so far. May struggled a little bit the first time against Buffalo, even though they pulled out the win. And Burr's playing against Lamar Jackson. Anything can happen in that game. But as of right now, I'd probably lean Dart just because he probably has a little more upside than the other three this week.
Yeah, I think in terms of this grouping, obviously those are four great quarterback options. If you have all four of them, probably the most loaded quarterback room in your league.
Yeah.
Burrow, I had a little bit higher than these guys, but with T. Higgins out, he kind of bumps down my list a little bit. I actually think his passing yards prop is a little too high. It's at 264. I think that should be down just a hair. And then between May and Dart, I'm taking a look at Dart this week, and it's because that Washington Commanders defense is bottom six in the NFL in EPA, passing yards allowed, passing touchdowns allowed, and they've really struggled over the last 4 weeks specifically. So I think Jackson Dart, he should be a really good play. This Giants team's coming off a bye week as well, so they should be in a very good spot to have success. Drake May, I think the Buffalo matchup is a little bit scarier than people want to admit. The Bills' pass defense has been good. A lot of teams have beat them to the ground. And then Matthew Stafford, great matchup against Detroit, but doesn't just have the rushing upside that Dart or May has. So I would lean Jackson Dart, although four of those options are very good. All right, Danny, next one here. Start one tight end, one flex, full PPR. Is Michael Wilson, Burden, C. Rod, Strange, and Loveland. Who you going with?
I was actually looking at this before we even started here. For the tight ends, it's pretty close. You can go Strange or Loveland. I'd probably lean Strange a little bit, but both of them are probably good options. I think you still have to start Michael Wilson. I know they're playing against Houston. It's going to be a tough matchup, but he probably has a safer floor compared to Burden and Rodriguez. Rodriguez is still questionable, so we're not even sure if he's going to be able to play yet or how much his workload is going to be. But Burden, uh, Udunze is going to be back. How much he can be able to be effective, who knows? But he's probably still the third, fourth guy in that offense. I'd still go Michael Wilson for the flex position.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for sure. I think, and when looking at the guys we have available in this situation right here, Michael Wilson's a great option just based on his production alone. Without Marvin Harrison Jr. in that lineup, he's been basically the everything you want out of a top wide receiver, and you got him off of waivers. That's a great steal for you, and he probably got you in the playoffs if you have him in some leagues. And Luther Burden, I think he's an ascending option, but not necessarily lineup worthy consideration just yet. Chris Rodriguez, I have him as a must start this week, right? It's a great matchup against New York. If he
Yeah.
goes, he's either had 50 rushing yards or a touchdown in every single game over the last month. He's been
Mhm.
really strong. So out of those three options, I tend to lean Michael Wilson just a hair over Chris Rodriguez. It's hard to bench a guy that has over a 30% target share. The amount of yards he's had without Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. I know Houston's going to have their way on the defensive side of the ball, but this is also a game where I think Michael Wilson can score 15 to 20 points just based on volume alone. Sure, it might not be 10 for 120 and two touchdowns like he's done in the past. It could be 8 catches, 64 yards, or 9 catches for 70 yards, somewhere around there. And that's really good production at the wide receiver position. While I think Chris Rodriguez is closer than some want to admit, Michael Wilson's the play this week, and that's absolutely who you should go with this week at that situation. And then as far as the tight end position goes, Brenton Strange, Colston Loveland, these guys are very close for me, but The way I look at it, I think Brenton Strange is probably the better play. It's the easier matchup. Loveland's going against Cleveland. It's really cold over here in Chicago. Negative wind chill. Caleb Williams in the passing game has not been consistent over the last few weeks, and his production significantly takes a hit against better defenses. Go with Brenton Strange. He has a better matchup. I know he had a down week last week. Disappointed a lot of fantasy owners, but I think as far as playing this week, you go Brenton Strange, Michael Wilson, and then you lock those two guys in and you have some success right there. Next question here. Start two wide receivers, one flex, full PPR. Flowers, Waddle, Diggs, JMO, Judkins, Genty, Harvey. What are you thinking, Danny?
It's a lot of names right there and a lot of decent plays this week. Two wide receivers, I'd probably go Flowers and JMO. Then for the flex position, it's probably between Judkins and Harvey, but the two wide receivers probably Flowers and JMO for me. Then I'd still lean Judkins for he's going to get the workload for the Browns and the Chicago defense has been. I mean, they're kind of hit and miss. I mean, they're one of those teams where they play well at home, and I don't know why. It's just one of those weird situations. But I'd probably go Judkins right there for the flex. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you.
I'm muted. My bad.
There we go. We both done it this time.
Audio is struggling here in the playoffs. I'm struggling. But as far as this one goes, I think there's a lot of guys kind of clumped around the same tiers when I look at all these players. As far as the wide receivers go, I think Jalen Waddle is a guy that I want to get in my lineup out of this grouping for sure. Great matchup against Pittsburgh on the outside, who's really struggling at the cornerback position health-wise as of late. And I know their defensive production has been a little bit hit or miss over the last few weeks, but I tend to lean against the defense that has allowed bottom 10 in yards allowed in the pass game. I'll target that matchup as a wide receiver. So I want Jalen Waddle in my lineup. As far as the other receiver goes, it gets tricky. I don't consider Zay Flowers a start. I have him as a must-sit this week. Last time he faced DJ Turner, he only had 2 receptions the entire game, Danny. That is not going to play this week in general. So Stephon Diggs went off against Buffalo last time, but Jameson Williams is a hot hand right now. He's been on fire as of late for the Detroit Lions, and I think the Rams are going to move the ball effectively, and this could be a high-scoring affair. And I think J-Mo will have that volume to be successful in fantasy. And then as far as the running backs go, it's tough. I think that Harvey has a case, but it's Judkins. The volume is going to be there for him this week against Chicago in a run-heavy environment. They're going to have to find ways to get the ball in his hands and win that game. So I'm slightly leaning Judkins over Harvey. Genty is behind both those guys in my mind overall. So, Danny, DFS spreadsheet. We need some more questions here. The stream's kind of lacking. I hope a lot of our guys did not miss the playoffs. Make sure you drop questions down below. But question for you, DFS-wise, what are we looking at?
Actually, Woody Marks has popped up real this week for the running backs. He's getting a good matchup against who they're going against again. I'm drawing just drew completely. They're playing the Cardinals. He had a workload last week. He had 26 carries last week. He didn't practice on Wednesday, and I think that may had a lot to do with the workload he had last week. They're just trying to get him rested up again. And Chubb's party may not play, so he may get a heavy workload this week. And I can't remember what the line was on that, but I know they're double-digit favorites. I think they are, and he should get another heavy workload. And both that offense actually should perform well. I mean, Stroud and Collins could have a big game as well. In that game. Let's try to look through here. Surprisingly, Bandon popped back up again for tight ends. I mean, after his big week last week, I don't know if it's because the numbers right there themselves, because he had a big week, or what it is on that part, or it's just because the Bears defense is kind of a middle of the road team. But the one thing that the Bears defense do well, that don't do well, they give up big plays to the tight ends, and that's what Fannon's kind of lived on this year too. And so it falls right into his lap of having a big game. And plus, with Njoku being out, he's going to be the guy to be looked at right there for them on the offense.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one in terms of like looking at, matchups in general. You mentioned Woody Marks, right? I have him as a must start this week. I think that his volume hasn't really translated into fantasy production just yet, but it's coming, it feels like. And this matchup against the Cardinals feels like a game where he could have those, 24 to 26 touches with Nick Chubb out, get some work in the passing game and cash in and get us 16 to 18 points in fantasy this week. I have him in a few bets I'm making this week, so I'm glad me and you agree on that one.
Yep.
And then Harold Fannin Jr., another one I agree with. I mean, the matchup against the Bears is juicy. The
Yeah.
middle of the field, since Shedeur Sanders took over at quarterback, Fannin has a 28% first read share at the tight end position. We saw him go for 114 yards last week. That's exactly what you want to see out of your rookie tight end playing that type of football with your rookie quarterback. I'll mention this, like Harold Fannin Jr., a player that I think is going to be a late round steal in drafts next year,
Yeah.
depending on who their quarterback is, because David Njoku, we don't know what his future is going to look like. And it seems like Harold Fannin has just elevated his play into consistent tight end one tier. It kind of reminds me of like Jake Ferguson entering the year, a high volume guy that, given the right opportunities, could be a top 5 tight end. And that's clearly what we've seen from, you know, Jake Ferguson at times this year. So I
Yep.
think that Harold Fannin Jr., a name to watch in the offseason, depending on how the quarterback situation plays out. If it's Shedeur, his value is probably up a little bit more than if it's Deshaun Watson or they bring in somebody else. But I do think he is a long-term investment at the tight end position that you definitely want to be looking at. All right. Question here from the GOAT today. I'm sorry, no one joining you in chat right now. That a lot of I guess a lot of Blitz guys have not made the playoffs, unfortunately. But Team 1, right? He's asking who would win in this matchup. This is Team 1 here, Danny. They have Lamar, Woody Marks, Josh Jacobs, Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Juwan Johnson, Debo, the Panthers defense, and then McPherson. And then Team 2, they have Dart/Burrow, where to go. I think we're both going Dart there. And then also Gibbs, Henderson, JSN, Michael Wilson, Strange, JMO, Bears D, and Fairbairn. So if you had to choose one of those two teams, which of these two are you going with? Here's Team 1.
Yes, Team 1, Team 2.
Team 1.
Man, this is actually pretty even. It is on that for the most part. I mean, I think Lamar can have a good game tomorrow. So that kind of takes out the Dart Burrow combo there on that. Who goes to on that part? What Marks? We both like Marks at tomorrow, and he's got Puka and Rice. I mean, two top guys that kind of bounces
up. One for me is looking at those two. I was like, ooh,
yeah.
The good thing is though, is Rashee Rice has a tough matchup against the Chargers.
Yeah, and that's one of those games where it seems like there's always scoring in that game for some reason. And it doesn't matter how good the defenses are to that point. It seems like it's always a 28-27 or 27-24 type game too when they're playing Kansas City. I'm probably leaning the Team 1. It'll be close. It's less than a touchdown.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
No. I think as far as looking at it go, I love your running back matchups this week. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs against the Rams, Travion Henderson against the Buffalo Bills. Those are matchups I like. I think Dart, great matchup there at quarterback. JSN, obviously going to be really good against a Colts secondary without Sauce Gardner, Charvarius Ward. That's intriguing. JMO, another good play right there as well. Michael Wilson, right? And then you got Team 1 right here. Like, he has good matchups too. Honestly, your guys' matchups are incredibly good. And I think, as far as your team construction goes, you have a great chance of winning this ball game, right? You can't really rely on what the other guy has. You just kind of have to put your best lineup out there and let the cards play out themselves. If you kind of worry about the other guy's team, the matchups he has, it's only going to make that anxiety even worse when it comes to it. I think you have a good team, and I think you have a great chance of winning this week if your team lives up to the expectations. Sure, in the box score, it might be a high-scoring affair with this guy, but I'd say your team has a good shot of winning. And, after this week as well, they have a good shot of winning some games here in the postseason. So looking good right there overall. Yes. Some more questions are filling in here. Make sure you drop those down below. Marcus Mariota or Caleb Williams this week. Danny, what are your thoughts this week?
I'm going Mariota. The Giants defense is not, let's see here, look what they are ranked. They are 29th against quarterbacks this year. So I'm going Mariota. Caleb played, one thing Caleb's done well this year, he's been able to, when they've had a chance to win games, they've won games because he's been able to lead them down at the end of games and put them in position to win games. But the problem is, though, Caleb, he also has that 2 or 3 throws a game where he overthrows his guy, and it's going to be cold weather, so it's not going to be able to handle the ball as well. It's going to be a little more slicker and stuff like that. So there could be some more turnover opportunities for the Browns defense, and the Browns kind of live off of that. Yep. So I'd probably go Mariota, just a safer play this week.
Listen, I'll tell you this right now. Caleb Williams, right, he's really struggled in these tough matchups, and the production's just been volatile the entire year. I think 5 of his last 9 games, he's been under 15 fantasy points. That's just not what you want out of your quarterback 1, but it also shows he's still a quarterback 1 despite that volatility. So, Caleb Williams, if he makes some strides next year, a really good pick, right? But right now, it's just been really bad, and against tough defenses specifically, his fantasy 19 points after the first half he had. I think he started the game 1 for 7 for 4 yards. So with Caleb, the weather is going to be bad. His production against good teams has been bad. The catchable target rate is still in the bottom 5 among qualified quarterbacks versus Marcus Mariota, who's been really good, right, since taking over for Jaden Daniels at times this year. I think he has back-to-back games over 18 fantasy points this week. He gets the Giants defense, allowing some of the most yards per play in the NFL, whether that's on the pass or the ground game. And the last time we saw Marcus Mariota suit up in a full game, he played very well against the Denver Broncos defense that has been really good against every quarterback this year. So with Marcus Mariota, he has a full set of weapons healthy. He has a great matchup. You go with him over Caleb Williams, a guy that we just can't trust right now.
No.
And don't act like I don't have any stake in this, because I got Marcus Mariota starting on 2 different playoff teams this week. I think he is a really strong play, and you got to go with a guy that just has been more consistent.
Exactly.
Next question here, 12-man PPR start. He's got 1 running back, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Purdy, Mahomes, running back. He's got CMC, Jones, Walker, Rodriguez. Wide receiver, he's got Olave, Diggs, Jennings, Terry, and Godwin on the tight end. He's got Waller, Strange. Then he's got defense as the Rams and 49ers. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're live every Saturday and more content for you guys. All right, Danny, what are your thoughts here? Why don't you go through and give us a quick summary for each of these guys that they got to get in their lineup?
Okay, let's see. Purdy has the better matchup. Mahomes is probably the better play. Must-win game at home. I know last week was a must-win game and they lost it as well. I'd probably still lean Mahomes. I think he has better upside. Purdy has a good floor, but the upside that Mahomes has, he could have 3 touchdowns and 50 yards rushing. He's got you at almost 30 points. Running backs at CMC. If Rodriguez plays, that'd probably be my second guy on that group right there. Walker's probably a solid third, but Walker would probably be number 2 if Rodriguez doesn't play that. Wide receivers, I'd probably go Olave. Godwin's already played, so you can't use him. Probably Olave and Jennings, the 2 wide receivers. And tight end, I would probably go Strange. And defense, I'm going 49ers. I'm staying away with both defenses in that Rams game.
Yeah, I think as far as the lineup goes, I'm going Patrick Mahomes still. Still have him higher ranked than Brock Purdy. The rushing upside, right? You saw it last week, led the team in rushing despite a really bad game through the air and 3 interceptions. That's just, I would have a hard time seeing Mahomes tie his career high in interceptions 2 weeks in a row. So I think you kind of saw last week, right? He had the rushing upside with no offensive line. He should be better this week against a much worse Chargers defense compared to the Texans. There's levels to this. There's levels to this, Danny. You got the Texans defense.
Yes.
Big gap. Actually, not a big gap, but a gap Broncos defense, and then a significant gap, and then every other defense in the NFL, right? That's how it's kind of been this year. So Mahomes, you still got to start him still this week. I will say this about Brock Purdy for those of you guys paying attention right now. Brock Purdy is going to be a league winner down the stretch here. 3 great matchups. Only 1 game under 16 points since returning from injury this year. So he has a high floor, great matchups. If you do have him in our team that streams quarterbacks, he's a great streamer down the stretch. But go with Mahomes, running back CMC, lock him in there. Chris Rodriguez is a play that you want. He has really good volume, and he's going to be in for a great matchup against the Giants, who led the most yards per carry in the NFL, yards after contact, great play. Wide receivers, Olave, lock him in there. Great volume, good production. Panthers secondary. I know he's going to get J.C. Horn, but it's been pretty good. Go with Terry McLaurin as well. Great matchup against the Giants. Flex, I'm leaning – I'll go Stephon Diggs. I can't go against that again. I was close with Juwan Jennings. I like the Titans matchup, but go with Diggs. And then tight end, I'm rocking Darren Waller in this one. Ride with Darren Waller against that Steelers defense. I have another guy that has a good playoff stretch. Should cash in for us during this playoff run. And then defense, go the 49ers. I just am not starting a defense against the Lions offense, even if the Rams defense is a really good defense down the stretch. So I think that besides that, like the lineup's looking good. And you have a good shot of winning this week. Shout out to Dougie G here, back with another comment. Our GOAT, it's playoff time in a guillotine league. Rosters are stacked. He's got Burrow, or Hurts, and Waddle, Jacobs, Wilson, or Kyren Williams at flex 1 point PPR. What are your thoughts here, Dan?
Quarterback, it's Burrow. Hurts is just so hit and miss right now. I mean, 5 turnovers last week, even 2 on the 1 play. Then for the other guys, I'm probably going Waddle. that's That's great tough choices to have right there. I'd probably go
Yeah.
Waddle just because they're
Hey,
going
that's
against
what
the
the
Steelers.
guillotine. If you get this far in a guillotine
Oh,
league,
exactly,
you have
exactly.
great
You're gonna be
options at this
stacked.
point.
It comes down to matchups and basically when it comes to guillotine in that part. I mean, I'd probably go Waddle. He's got the best matchup in my opinion on that part. Kyron Williams, I mean that game could be a shootout, but Stafford could also throw 4 touchdowns, and Williams only sees 10 touches, 50 yards, and splits it with Corn. And we've already talked about Wilson just because of the matchup against Houston. Jacobs, I don't know if Jacobs actually 100% healthy yet. I mean, he played well in that fourth quarter last week, but I think they're trying to hold him back a little bit, trying to save him for the playoffs because they're probably going to be a playoff team this year. So I'm going Waddle and Burrow.
Yeah, I think as far as this goes, I got Burrow over Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I think that we're seeing just like Jalen Hurts for what he is,
Yeah,
basically, is what I see it in kind of my mind. He's just an okay quarterback, right? The production has been incredibly volatile. And when he's not scoring tush push touchdowns, his fantasy production's
yeah,
not great, right? So go with Joe Burrow, trust the volume play there
yep.
in that one. And then I'm leading Waddle. I have Waddle slightly higher than Josh Jacobs this week overall. I think it's interesting though with Kyron Williams or and Wilson just because they're good players, but like Jacobs and Waddle are so close. But it's the Broncos defense that's the X factor for me. I know that, everybody's going to be like, "Oh, the run defense is the worst part of the Broncos defense." There really isn't much holes on the Broncos defense, and there's a lot of holes on that Steelers defense, and I think Jalen Waddle should be in for a nice game. And I know people will say like, "Oh, the weather's bad. Tua's been bad in that weather." I still think Waddle will be able to get his in that ball game as well.
And with the Steeler game too, well, it's a 3-point. Steelers are 3-point favorite. That's home field advantage.
Yeah,
The Steelers are probably a better team than the Dolphins. So why is that line that? So it makes you question sometimes what they do with the lines on that part. So I
I was
think,
going back and forward with that
yeah,
pick. I wound up picking the Steelers because
I,
Tua struggles in that weather, but I also I think that the main reason I went with the Steelers in that game was because of how Aaron Rodgers looked in a must-win game last week.
yeah,
And that was probably the best I've seen Rodgers look in a few years. And if he can
yep.
play like that against this Dolphins defense, they should be in for a nice game. Next question here: Michael Wilson or Jalen Warren? Danny, what are your thoughts?
Going Michael Wilson here. It's just the volume, even though he's going against Houston in that part. Jalen Warren, the problem with Warren is he gets the yardage between the 20s, but once they get inside the 20, it's Gainwell time. And they've been using Gainwell in along the goal line and passing situations. He's been scoring touchdowns. So Warren can get some yardage for you, but the touchdowns just haven't been there. So I'm going with Michael Wilson just because he's probably got a little bit safer floor.
Yeah, I'm going Wilson as well. The biggest thing with Warren for me is I think the Dolphins run defense has been very hit or miss this season, but they've also been better in matchups against tougher running games, right? You saw them limit Bijan earlier on this year. I know there was another guy that they limited that was a big name. I can't just remember off the top of my head, but like the Miami Dolphins defense, while they might not look the best statistically, they have been a middle of the pack run defense this year. And Jalen Warren, it feels like the production has almost been capped. It feels like his ceiling is like 16 points
Yeah.
because his volume is split with Kenneth Gainwell and he just hasn't necessarily had that red zone work like we've wanted to see the entire season. His metrics are great though. Like the guy's top 10 in like missed tackle rate, yards after contact, which is great, but his volume and his usage isn't like the best for an RB1 profile. I think with what we've seen from Michael Wilson without Marvin Harrison Jr., you just trust that. Like I said, there's people that obviously I have over Wilson, but in this situation, you ride Wilson in the hot hand without Marvin Harrison Jr. Then the next question here: Theo Johnson or Bretton Strange? What are your thoughts here?
Oh, I'm going with my spreadsheet. My spreadsheet has Theo as 2 this week, so I'm going with Theo on this one. Brenton Strain's a good play as well, but I'm going with Theo Johnson. Just that matchup against that Washington defense. Dart's going to be probably one of my top plays for DFS as well this week. So pair him with his best tight end. So I'll go with Johnson right there. Brenton Strain should have a good game, but Johnson's probably the better play.
Yeah, I got Theo Johnson as well, and I know he's had a few down weeks mixed in here, but it's a great matchup. Bobby Wagner can't cover anybody in space anymore. This Commanders defense has just struggled covering every single position this year. It's a great matchup, and Theo Johnson's production with Jackson Dart's been really good. He had that big touchdown stretch in the middle of the year,
Mhm.
became one of the hottest waiver wire pickups at the tight end position. People have been slowly dropping him over the past few weeks. That doesn't concern me at all. I think that Theo Johnson will return to fantasy relevance here this week and have a strong tight end one showing and a great matchup. Like I said, I love that game for over totals on both sides of it. Should be a good player prop game for those of you guys that like sports betting. But Brenton Strange, not a bad matchup as well. I just think Theo Johnson is the better overall play. Next question here. Need two flexes full PPR. He's got Likely, Tyler Warren, McConkey, Hampton, Gainwell, or Jerry Judy. What are your thoughts, Danny?
Probably gonna go Likely because the Bengals can't stop any tight ends. So, and he should have had a touchdown in that first game against them as well. We fumbled into the end zone. Then it comes down to the second guy. Then you're Tyler Warren, McConkey, Hampton. Oh, Judy's a, Judy's out of that group. McConkey's probably the next guy out. Process of elimination. I mean, Warren's playing against Seattle, whose defense is actually one of the better defenses as well, too. It's go Hampton. I mean, it'd be his second game back, and he still had a decent workload last week, so I'd probably go Likely in Hampton with that group right there. Tyler Warren's probably my third guy, and he's probably a close third to Hampton on that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go a different grain here. I'm gonna go Tyler Warren. The Seahawks defense, if they've had one weakness the entire year, it's been to the tight end position. I don't expect Philip Rivers to push the ball vertically to
That's
the
true on
outside
that.
of Rivers very much, and I expect Tyler Warren to be his safety blanket. And it works perfectly against the Seahawks, whose weakness, like I mentioned, has been against the tight end position the entire year. So if targets are gonna funnel anywhere from Philip Rivers right away, expect it to be Tyler Warren. And remember, Philip Rivers had a great tight end throughout a majority of his career, and Antonio
Yeah.
Gates fed. He's always fed tight ends. Expect Tyler Warren to have that type of volume heading into this week. And listen, he's been sitting on the couch. He's like, man, this rookie, Colt Scott's nice. He's texting Shane Steichen all the time. He probably loves Tyler Warren already, and he's going to get him the ball. The other guy, I'm going with Lad McConkey. It's basically between McConkey and Hampton. I love Isaiah Likely's matchup, but I just don't know what I'm going to get from him. And it felt like he had so many opportunities the last 2 weeks that he just never cashed in, and it's just frustrating. So
Mhm.
I don't know how much I trust him. I do have him within my top 12 tight ends, so I just don't know if I have him in flex territory. But McConkey and Hampton, the biggest difference for me is the Chiefs have one of the best run defenses in football. They've consistently limited fantasy production to that running back position the entire year. Last week, we saw a 60-40 split with Vidal and Hampton. Both had similar touches. I expect that to be pretty similar. It just might flip the opposite way with Hampton getting 60 and Vidal getting 40. It seems like both of these guys are going to have a role here down the stretch in the Chargers backfield, kind of like what they envisioned with Najee Harris there when he was healthy to start the season, but obviously he's out now. So Hampton in a split in a tough matchup in Arrowhead, I don't love that. McConkey in the slot, sure, the Chiefs have, just been okay against the slot this year. McConkey's coming off a bad outing. He's frustrated managers the entire year, but I think that is the matchup you would rather target than a split committee in the backfield for Los Angeles. Give me Lad McConkey and Tyler Ward in that flex spot. Bears, Dolphins, Broncos, or Packers defense for that same matchup I brought up.
Hmm.
Which of these defenses are you going with, Danny?
I'm going Bears here. Just the fact of playing against the Browns. I can't see Shadir throwing for 360 yards again, especially in that weather. I know we've talked about some good players like Fannin this week for them, and Jenkins has come up as well too. But I'd probably go the Bears defense. They're like the Chiefs. They're different monster at home playing defense this year, and I don't know if it's because of the home crowd or the home field advantage. What's going on? But I'm going Bears, and my next would probably be the Broncos. Just that defense has been solid all year. That matchup right there. I know Jordan Love's played well, and the running game has been effective for the Packers, but the Broncos should win that game, and their defense should play a role at some point in that game. But I go Bears 1 and Broncos 2.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for sure. I think that heading into this, obviously the Broncos have been your horse the entire year. Great defense. I don't trust them against the Green Bay Packers. I don't like the Packers against the Broncos. Same type of scenario. Dolphins against the Steelers. Meh, not great, but the Bears have been the one for me that kind of jumps off this list. Is because of the turnovers. They're first in the league in turnovers. Shedeur Sanders has already taken a good amount of sacks and turned the ball over a good amount in his few starts to open his career. Plays perfectly, especially with the weather that you mentioned as well. It should be a nice game for the Bears defense. Personally, for me, a lot of people were targeting if Jacksonville wasn't there, like San Francisco or some other streamer defenses. I was going for Chicago a bit under the radar against this Cleveland offense. It should be a great game for them to capitalize on a few turnovers, have a nice day in fantasy football, and ultimately provide that production we need out of our defensive spot to go and win that week. Matt, appreciate you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. We hope to see you again. And your other question right here, also at quarterback, he's got Herbert, Love, or pick up T-Law. Stroud, or JJ McCarthy. 6-point passing touchdown league. Thanks. But what are your thoughts here?
I'm not crazy about Herbert. He's fighting that issue with the hand. Love's got the Broncos. Then T Law has a nice matchup, but let's go T Law on this one. He's played well here lately on that. I know Stroud has a decent matchup going against the Cardinals and stuff. McCarthy, Cowboys defense has been so hit and miss, but they are playing at home, so they play a little bit better at home this year. It's go Lawrence. None of them are a great pick. I mean, you're looking for the best floor of those five right there, and I think Lawrence may have the best floor because you just don't know what Herbert with the injury. Loves playing against the Broncos. Stroud, it could be a game where Woody Marks carries the ball 30 times and rushes for 150 yards, and Stroud throws 25 passes, if that. McCarthy, he had a great game last week, but going against Cowboys in Dallas on primetime game, let's see what he can do. I'd probably the safest floor is probably T-Law, probably.
I'm going Trevor Lawrence, and it's not even a consideration for me. I think that you probably drop Jordan Love and you pick him up, but Trevor Lawrence has been the quarterback 9 since week 8. His accuracy numbers have jumped within the top 12 at a lot of them in catchable target rate, hero throw rate, everything you want to see from that development point from Trevor Lawrence. Sure, the schedule hasn't been great. Let's just be honest, but it's going to be easy the entire rest of the way. The Jets are not a great defense in general as well. So, like, Trevor Lawrence has the matchup. He's been very productive as of late. His rushing upside has been a pleasant surprise this year as well, which has helped his fantasy production. And they're also going to run the ball effectively in this one against the Jets defense. Like, everything is playing well for Trevor Lawrence. I have him within my top 12 guys. He's a guy that you need to get in your lineup, and I think you'll feel very comfortable with his production and how he's performed as of late. So Trevor Lawrence, pick him up. Don't look back. He's a great play this week heading into week 15. Kicker question here. Oh boy. Kickers, man. Gotta love them. Kaimi Fairbairn and Little. Pays kicker? Pat's kicker. Pat's kicker. Okay.
Kicker, yeah.
Tyler Loop, Santos, Lutzer, McManus. Are there any names that stick out for you? There's one in particular I'm looking at.
Fairbairn. They're playing in a dome.
Fairbairn. Gotta be Fairbairn.
Yep.
He's averaging 3 field goal attempts per game this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's elite. That's exactly what you want to see out of the kicker.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yep.
Go Kaimi Fairbairn. It is going to be a great play. All right. Our boy Dougie G here for next week. Is Bucky Irving a startable player with the fact that Tucker is the goal line back and White plays every third down? I think with like this situation, and Danny, you can correct me, like this is kind of what is going to happen with Bucky, right? It feels like, I've talked about this with a few people that since Liam Cohen left, this Bucs running game has been significantly worse. You take a look at Tampa Bay prior to Liam Cohen being the offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen offense coordinator, and then this year without Liam Cohen, the run splits have been significantly different. And then you look at Jacksonville this year, they have the top 5 run block win rate. Travis Etienne's having a resurgent year. Liam Cohen was a massive factor in this Bucs running game being super effective and efficient. This year, it's been the complete opposite. They've been one of the least efficient running games in the football the entire year. Now that Bucky's healthy, he doesn't, move the needle right now, and he's not been super effective and efficient. Now they're in a 3-man committee. Bucky is moving closer towards a middle-tier RB2 matchup-based guy. Next week against Carolina, who's at a pretty mediocre to average run defense. Not mediocre, sorry. Average to above average run defense this year. I'm not sure what I'm getting in. It's going to depend on the other guys that you have in your lineups, but there's definitely a little bit of hesitancy and concern with Bucky Irving. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree as well, too. And I watched a little bit of the game last week, and it doesn't seem like he has that burst right now, and that could be a deciding role if he's a true low-end number 1 running back like he was at the beginning of the season and at the end of last season. But just the fact they have so many guys and they play so many guys is just there's no set workload for him that you can feel confident that you're going to get a 25-point game from him every week. So if you got better options next week, yes, I'd start somebody else instead of Bucky. But if Bucky's your guy, you got to start him. I mean, he's still going to get a chance. He still was using the passing game, which was nice to see, catching the touchdown pass last week with that too. And even when he was hurt, he got hurt a couple times, came back in game, was still the guy that we're giving the ball to in key situations. So it's still the fact that he is their number 1 guy. I mean, he may not get the goal line touches and may not take the third down rolls right now, just trying to save his health a little bit. That it's still Bucky's the main guy in that offense. You got to start him unless you have somebody better.
Yeah. All right. Next question here. I'm looking for a floor. Luckily, even I have the tight end started Pitts on Thursday. Yeah. If you started Kyle Pitts on Thursday, congratulations. You are in a great spot. Thank God I
Yes.
had him as a must start. That makes me look like a genius, but the matchup was just so good on paper.
Yeah.
That, it was going to cash in. All right. Break down our reasoning behind Dart versus Burrow. Loveland versus Strange. Strange has the better matchup. The volume's been much better. Cleveland,
Yeah.
one of the best defenses against tight ends this year. Loveland been really inconsistent over the last 4 weeks. Outside of that Cincinnati matchup, Danny, he just hasn't been a tight end one at all. Right? I think a lot of people got fooled by that game. Caleb Williams' accuracy has been a big problem in his production. And also when Cole Kmet's been in the lineup, it's been a concern for his production as well. So Bretton Strange has actually proven that he can be a consistent starter in fantasy lineups. Good matchup this week. Play him. And the other one, Dart versus Burrow. Commanders defense, like I mentioned before, bottom 6 in every single passing category. Pass defense, DVOA, passing yards allowed, pass touchdowns, sacks this year. Like, they are just a bad defense in general. Joe Burrow, like I said, I liked him heading into the week. T. Higgins is out. He struggled a little bit against Baltimore at times, that first matchup. Go with Jackson Dart. The matchup's perfect. You got to play him this week.
Yeah, and that Jackson's got a little more of the rushing floor that Burrow doesn't have. With that foot injury, he's very immobile and back in the backfield. So Dart, even though he cut down his design rushes for him in the New England game, he still had 4 rushes last time out. So I think having the bye week last week gives him another week to get a little more healthier too. So I think they may have a better chance of maybe get a few more design runs for him, and he's still going to run when he gets a chance. I mean, his style hasn't really changed a whole lot other than part of the design plays for him. So if he gets a chance to run, he's going to run, but hopefully he's just a little bit smarter. He takes that slide a little bit sooner or instead of diving for the first downs.
Hey, he ain't shying away from run the
No,
football.
he has not.
All right, I have Josh Allen and Drake May. Who should I start? You start
Allen.
Josh Allen. You start the
Yeah.
guy that can win you a week by himself. The Patriots don't have Milton Williams, and their defense just has not been that good without Milton Williams this year. Their pass defense has struggled the entire year. It's a great matchup for Josh Allen and the Bills to have a really nice game in fantasy. I know that Allen didn't have the best game last time these two teams played against each other, but Josh Allen is literally one of the few players that you can put in your lineup and can single-handedly win you a week with his production. He's already done it a handful of times this year. He does it every year a handful of times. So with Josh Allen, you can't take him out of your lineup. When it's the fantasy football playoffs, you need your studs in your lineup, and that's why you get Josh Allen in there.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly on that one. Yeah, Allen in matchups against other top quarterbacks this year, he's averaging over 35 points a game. So, and the worst game was the game against Drake May the first time, and he scored 21 in that one. So this is a must-win situation for them if they want to have a chance to win the East. So I see Allen bringing his best game just like he did last week against Burrow.
100%. All right, Danny, to close the show, right? I will say this. We'll get to the last question here.
Okay.
But what is your hottest take heading into the weekend?
For the weekend, heck, the hottest take is it's you're going to get 5 games tomorrow at 425. You don't get that very often in the NFL.
That's the hottest take you got.
Yeah, there's not really any guys that really stand. I mean, the guys that are supposed to perform well, my spreadsheet likes them. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's been a weird week where there's been no surprises really. It's just been your top guys. I got receivers. I got Chase, Nukia, Collins, Smith, Njigba, McLaurin. They're all my top 10. So it's one of those situations where I'm not there's not really a hot take. I mean, Woody Marks just got a great situation going on at Washington, New York game. The only thing you may have to worry about is the weather system going through there, and it should clear out in New York City before the game starts, so that shouldn't really matter that much. It's going to be a fun weekend because you're getting 13 games on the main slate tomorrow, and actually, no, you're getting 13 games on the main slate tomorrow, and you get your one Monday night game and your one Sunday night. This is the last week of the season that we actually had game on a Thursday, games on Sunday, games on Monday. Now we're getting to the holiday seasons. We're going to have Thursday night games, Saturday games. We're going to have the Christmas games. So it feels like this week probably feels like the beginning of the season because you're getting everybody's playing. There's no buys, and there's no special games or anything going on. So it's going to be a day where it's going to be a lot of football going on. There's going to be a lot of scoring going back and forth. So you could be down earlier in your game if you got some key guys late. That don't sweat it, because there's possibility they could score 50 points and you're right back in it. So it's one of those days where having those 5 games is great, because if you're down early in fantasy, you have some hope late.
Yeah, 100%. I think my hot takes for the weekend, I think these 3 combinations of teams will win: the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Rams.
Mhm.
Put those teams together, win yourself some money. I think those 3 teams are going to win this weekend. All right, last few questions before we wrap this up. We'll kind of tie these in together.
Okay.
Why are you saying Judkins over Harvey in the flex when Harvey catches much more balls and has a better defense? And then the pick 2 of Terry, Myers, Smitty, and Jawan Jennings. And would you flex any over Judkins? I think with these 2 questions,
Mhm.
right, it comes down to this for me and Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah.
Everybody, Judkins' production just has been really inconsistent. That's just what it's been this year. And sure, RJ Harvey catches much more passes. I think with RJ Harvey, we're not necessarily seeing the efficiency and the effectiveness to break through a 100-yard game just yet. Green Bay's defense is good. That matchup is going to be tough for him. And I think that while Green Bay's run defense can be vulnerable at times, the Broncos are still staying committed to throwing the football a very good amount. They still rank top 10 in passing attempts, and Harvey just hasn't really had that game. And he's still in that backfield split, basically, where Jaleel McLaughlin's playing, Tyler Batty's playing. Right? They still have guys mixing in there that take away touches at times from Harvey. And while I think Harvey is a strong RB2 this week, this is nothing against RJ Harvey. It's just Judkins is the better play. The Bears' run defense has been incredibly volatile the entire season. This year, the Bears' defense is just not super talented overall. They have a ton of injuries at the linebacker level in general. And Quinshon Judkins, you know he's going to play 75 to 85% of snaps. Sure, he's going to come off the field on 3rd down. He might not catch passes, but when he's caught a few passes this year, they've turned into some really big gains, and he's always had 20 to 22 touches. This game is literally going to be like 17 to 14. It's going to be a tight, low-scoring game where the running game is going to be heavily utilized by both teams. I would not flex anybody over Judkins, and I would go with Terry McLaurin and Jakobi Meyers out of those 2 guys. I think McLaurin, great matchup against that Giants defense. And then Jakobi Meyers, right? He's been one of the hottest receivers in football. 3 straight games with 14-plus points. I think that you got to get him in your lineup in general.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Jakobi Meyers may be the reason why T-Law's played so much better here lately. He's a little more consistent as a slot guy. Christian Kirk, smaller receiver. Myers is a little bit bigger. And Myers understands sitting down in spots, and Lawrence has been able to read that with him as long as well too. So Scary Terry and Myers is probably the best plays over those 4 guys. And yeah, Judkins, it's just a matchup thing. I mean, Harvey's also lived off the touchdowns a lot this year, so that's kind of helped with his points as well. I mean, I have him in a few leagues, and I've enjoyed it just because of that. But he hasn't had a
He hasn't really been great. He just
no. He's been a good player, but the touchdowns have helped him get over the top a little bit. So it's kind of hidden his weaknesses right now for a true fantasy stud on that part of it.
Yep. And then final one of the night. What's your breakdown on Diggs versus Waddle? It's pure volume based for me, right?
Yeah.
The first read share is higher for Waddle. The target share is higher for Waddle. Waddle has just been more consistent overall. Like Stephon Diggs has been so volatile this season, and his biggest week was the spike week against Buffalo a few weeks back. And that's against a Buffalo pass defense that is ranked among the best in the NFL at limiting wide receiver and quarterback production, right, at times this year. So, like, with Stephon Diggs, yeah, he had that really big game a few weeks ago or 2 months ago, probably now, against the Patriots. But I don't look at that. I'm looking at the sample size, and Diggs' production has been more volatile than Jalen Waddle's this season. The Pittsburgh matchup does not scare me. It's not a matchup that I'm looking at. They don't have TJ Watt either. Like,
No.
Waddle is going to get his volume. He scored a lot of touchdowns as of late, and his production without Tyreek Hill has been very good. So I'm sticking with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I agree with that one too. And I think with Diggs, the problem is I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's actually a good thing if you're a Patriots fan. Drake May is one of those guys. He doesn't lock in on one guy. He goes through his progressions and he throws to the open player, and that's why he's played so well and they've been so successful. He reminds me of Brady when he was younger a little bit. When Brady got a little bit older, he'd have his slot guy that could rely on stuff. But he doesn't. Diggs is not a young guy anymore, and he's not really that guy who can get open all a lot. So May is just going through his progressions, finding the opening guy and throwing the ball where it needs to be thrown, and that's why they're winning games.
100%. Well, hey, listen, guys, we really appreciate you tuning into this Week 15 episode. Drop any sort of comments on my Twitter below. I'll be answering all those questions in the morning. Hit that subscribe button for more content from me and Danny, and we'll catch you guys next time.
All right, guys. Have good luck this week.